as we salute America with the performance of our national anthem, sung live tonight by Ms. Cameron Dees from West Ashley High School.
Blackbaud Stadium in Charleston, South Carolina, your site for the sixth and final game of the 2014 Carolina Challenge Cup. This one featuring the Houston Dynamo, an Eastern Conference finalist in Major League Soccer from a year ago, and the home team, the host side for this wonderful preseason event, the Charleston Battery. Sebastian Salazar and Dane R. Lucas here to bring you the call of this one. We've already got a champion, Dane, in the 2014 Carolina Challenge Cup, so not quite as much excitement as we might have hoped for the final, as DC United claimed the Carolina Challenge Cup, their fourth so far in their long history, dating back to 1996. Many trips to Charleston for the black and red, and they claimed the cup. So we still got a lot to play for, both for guys for Charleston and for Houston, fighting for roster spots or maybe a spot in the starting 11. But we've got our title holder already.
Yeah, you know, we've named a champion. The king has its crown already. We're sort of playing for pennies in this one, but realistically, both these teams coming into this preseason tournament hoping to just tune up the squads, getting ready for the season coming up. Obviously, the MLS season starting just next week. So final tune-ups for each of the coaches, and Charleston getting ready for their meat and potatoes of their preseason coming up. They don't start the USL Pro season until March 22nd, so obviously plenty to play for. Each coach will be checking out the talent and checking out the depth of each roster. So should be an entertaining 90 minutes coming up here.
March 22nd, is that against Orlando City?
That'll be against Orlando City, reigning USL Pro champions, and quite the team, about to move up to MLS in the next year. So it'll be their last hurrah in USL Pro.
Here are your starting lineups for the Dynamo. It's going to be Tally Hall in net across the back. David Horst and Eric Bruner working centrally. Corey Ash left back. Kofi Sarkodie right back. In the center midfield, Brad Davis will pair with Ricardo Clark, two guys who have worn the Stars and Stripes for the U.S. national team. Up top, Will Bruin, Giles Barnes, and out wide on the left side, Andrew Driver. And on the right side, a young man who has made a big name for himself since coming over in a loan from Colorado, Tony Cassio, having a great preseason, really forcing head coach Dominic Kinnear of the Dynamo to consider him for a spot, certainly in the rotation and perhaps even in that starting 11. got a foul early on here, and the Dynamo will have a set piece in the Charleston half. For the Battery, it's Andy Ramos in goal. Colin Falvey, the captain and fan favorite, he holds down the center of the Battery defense, joined by Sean Ferguson there centrally. John Wilson, a name that probably some MLS fans will remember, did a stint with DC United 2005 through 2007. He's a left back, 36 years old, but doesn't play a day over 26. I mean, he goes up and down the wing, doesn't he?
I'll tell you, that guy, you can see in the fitness test preseason that he is outrunning all the youngsters, and man, he does not, like you said, play a day over 25. The ageless wonder, Johnny Wilson.
Absolutely. Another fan favorite here with the Battery. Had a one-game stint with New England early in his career. Played for the Kansas City. They were then called the Wizards at one point, but he's really been around this thing for a long time. Tried to retire a few times, but the game keeps calling him back. Here come the Dynamo, pressing forward now through left back Corey Ash. Of course, made his first entrance onto the national team picture a year ago. Very successful 2013 for Ash.
And we're already seeing a couple guys slip. It's been a drier night than it was last Wednesday, but some early rain in the beginning of the day has set this pitch just a bit slick. Something to get used to as the game progresses.
Wilson with a bombing run up the left side as the Battery look to perhaps draw first blood here. Just 2 minutes in, 0-0. As we mentioned, DC United are your 2014 Carolina Challenge Cup champions. They tied Seattle earlier in the day, 2-2. A great game, actually, here at Blackbaud Stadium. So these two teams playing for preparation and a little bit of respect here late. Brad Davis challenge. He crashes into Colin Falvey. 50-50 ball. The Battery crowd doesn't like the call. It's going to go against the hosts and against their captain, Falvey.
Well, it was a terrible pass to the back for Colin Falvey by Amadou Sanyang. Really put his center back in a spot of bother there. Had to dive in perhaps a bit more than he would have liked, but you did hear the ball contact up here even through the crowd microphone, and gotta wonder if call was maybe just the referee out of position just a little bit.
Well, Brad Davis, the number one concern for him here is to stay healthy. Got to have a great opening couple months to his MLS campaign if he's going to slide the right way on that bubble for the 2014 World Cup coming up in Brazil. He's right there in the mix for Jurgen Klinsmann's squad, but only 23 spots available for that trip. He's trying to be one of the top 23 in the United States. No easy task. The Battery will deal easily with that set piece from Davis and come out playing down the far side. Looking for their top striker, Dane Kelly, who's now over the top. Thought he may have had a step on Ash. Instead, he'll run at the Dynamo defender. Kelly.
Ooh.
Looking forward back. Won't end up quite at his feet. Ball busted up, and Sanyang will now play it out wide. Left-footed shot to the near post. Won't draw too much trouble from Tally Hall, who gets down and smothers it.
Yeah, that's Quentin Griffin out there on the right side. Plenty of pace up and down the wing all night long, and if he gets a chance to cut into the inside of the field, it opens up that shot off of that left foot, and boy, he can really bang it home.
Battery, with some high pressure, create a turnover. Kelly had the ball where he wanted it, right at his feet, but couldn't corral it. Kelly, a young Jamaican player. You'll hear his name a lot throughout this broadcast.
The one thing about Dane Kelly is sometimes he can get a little lackluster around the goal, sometimes miss the target when he should be putting it on. But the one thing you can never question about Dane Kelly is his work ethic. The guy never has a bad game because he does so much more than just score goals, constantly pressuring the back four, always putting him in a bit of trouble. And just watch as this game progresses. You will see him more than once get in under the skin of Brunner and David Horst.
I've been covering this tournament for 3 years now, and every time we come down here, there's a couple of guys on the Battery that you say, I wouldn't be surprised to see this name in MLS at some point. Maybe not as a starter, but in some role, and Kelly's certainly one of those guys, Falvey another. But, you know, Kelly with his speed, very, very dangerous. You're right, it doesn't always end in a goal, but, man, he gives you headaches if you're a defender. Yeah,
speaking of Battery players moving on, just this tournament alone, Seattle has a number of them, Alex Kasky, Lamar Nagel, and Ozzy Osvaldo.
Break down the left side here. It's going to be Zach Prince, College of Charleston product, surging towards the middle, but David Horst cuts him off at the pass, and the Dynamo will have it. playing through Ricardo Clark and Brad Davis in midfield. An interesting combination in the center of the park for Dominic Kinnear. Last year it was mostly Clark pairing with a couple of different players, but Brad, for the most part, played on the left wing. Getting some time in the middle, as did Boniek Garcia on Wednesday. Trouble at the back. Will Bruin comes through and may have gotten the worst for it. He is favoring that right leg, and it does not look good. Long touch from Andy Ramos, the Charleston goalkeeper. We're going to have a corner, but Bruin is hurt, and that is the worst sight you can see if you're the fan of any team really in this tournament. Somebody getting hurt with just 7 days before the MLS opener.
Yeah, you know, it was just a mistake by Andy Ramos, showing a bit too much. Perhaps should have taken it on the one touch and left a bit too much on it. But Will Bruin down there right now behind the goal. Awful to see. We saw DeAndre Yeldon go down in the previous game before. Hopefully he's okay. Same with Will Bruin. You just don't want to see anything happen to these guys as they start preparing for the marathon that is the MLS regular season.
Well, marathon, you picked the right word. March through December, if you do it right, it is really quite a long campaign, and you talk about depth all the time, and that's why another reason very important to pay attention to a league like USL Pro if you're an MLS fan, because, you know, with injuries, call-ups, all the stuff that's going to happen, especially in this year, 2014, there's going to be some space, some roster spots at the end of seasons for players from this league to maybe find some minutes in MLS, and don't be surprised if come September, October, some of the names you're hearing now strike familiar. Here's Davis, service, left-footed from the corner kick. It'll bounce back out to him. Dangerous now. He's got time and space to work that magical left foot. Instead, going to go back to Corey Ash. Looks for some help. He'll find it in Sarkodie. Sarkodie to Davis. Davis has some time to serve. We'll try to slip it to Casio. Casio rips it towards the net. But he'll find the wrong side. We've got a goal kick coming up for the Battery.
Tony Casio, you talked about him in the squad at Colorado, just coming into this Houston team this season. And really a very talented guy over here on this right wing, has fit into this 11 very well. He's been playing the majority of the minutes here on this right side for Houston. He has been playing very well, teaming up with Brad Davis in the midfield.
Ricardo Clark whistled for a handball there as he broke up the play and looked to have Tony Casio in a pretty dangerous position going forward. The referee blows it dead, and the Battery will have a set piece from just inside the Dynamo half. 8th minute here, 0-0. Both of these teams coming in with just a point from their opening two matches. The Battery with a late goal on Wednesday tied DC United 1-1. And the Dynamo, after scoring first through Brad Davis in the 14th minute Wednesday night, saw an Obafemi Martins equalizer in the 44th that left them tied with the Seattle Sounders. Chaos at the back here for Houston. Corey Ash crashing back towards his goal. Tally Hall coming out. We're going to end up with a corner kick for the Battery as Charleston threatens here.
Yeah, they were just caught in the middle there, weren't they? It was a bit of miscommunication between Tally Hall and his defender, and as a result, the clearance not as it expected, and the set piece conceded.
Service to the near post. Kelly going to try and flick it on. He could not. Ball out of bounds. And it'll be a goal kick for the Dynamo. Tally Hall arguing, or perhaps speaking very clearly with Giles Barnes, his forwards, one of the forwards that had tracked back to mark. Good news for Houston. Will Bruin back on the field, shaking that right leg a little bit, but doesn't seem to be too troubled by it, which is a relief after he went down earlier in this match. Falvey with some time and space. He'll take it off his chest and look to play through Quentin Griffith on the far right side. Kelly the target man. Ball too high for him. Eric Bruner has got the advantage, at least in height, in that matchup. Wins it easily. Battery, though, maintaining possession in the Houston half. Bad turnover here. Giles Barnes, if he turns and goes, can create some space. Barnes joined by Andrew Driver. Barnes keeps it himself. Now to Driver on that favored left foot. And the service not quite where it needed to be. It'll end up at the near post, corralled by Andy Ramos.
Charleston just needs to be a bit more sure-handed in some of these passes to the back. In that instance, it was Quentin Griffith who got himself into a bit of trouble, had to track all the way back. Before, it was Amadou Sanyang. So these guys playing too talented of a team to be really making those sort of mistakes in crucial areas of the field.
Casio challenging Wilson. And it's going to be Casio and the Dynamo that end up with the ball, much to the dismay of the home fans here who had a pretty good look at it, I'd say. Kofi Sarkodie will come up and take this one. Sarkodie coming off a great season last year for the Dynamo. Really locked down that right back spot. Another questionable call here on the sidelines goes against the home side. This referee not going to be enjoying any of Charleston's fine foods for free after this performance. Ball goes in and then out. It's going to be a throw-in for the Dynamo. For those of you who haven't made a trip to this great city and this great preseason locale, I can only tell you you're missing out. Major League Soccer does a great job highlighting the preseason events in Tucson and Florida. But, you know, for food, recreation, beautiful downtown, history, the beach, it's tough to beat Charleston, certainly tough to beat Charleston this time of year.
Yeah, I know you get a little excited every time your name gets called on to come cover this event. It's a beautiful city, one that we are very spoiled to live in down here, and always adds to the luster of this city when we bring a great bunch of teams in for a tournament like this.
And you get a sense that some fans have traveled for this. Plenty of fans from D.C. It's not too far of a trip from the Mid-Atlantic area. A little bit farther for folks from Houston and Seattle, but I definitely see some scarves and some gear. So there's plenty of Major League Soccer fans either coming to Charleston or already in Charleston, and it makes up for a really good atmosphere. I think over 4,000 tickets sold for this one, 5,000 tickets sold last Saturday. So Charleston really responds to this tournament. Ricardo Clark going one-on-one and back and forth with Driver. Driver now through. Driver into the box, looking for some help, can't find it. Great check back there. I believe it was Griffith Ferguson that made the challenge there at the last second. Stop Driver.
Ferguson's a very technical player, big body, got plenty of pace. He's really, really an intelligent guy. Played at the College of Charleston under Coach Ralph Lundy, and in his second year with the Battery is really going to be asked a lot of here in this season after the Battery lost one of their center backs.
Dynamo moving it well around the back. For Houston fans, pay particular attention to the center of this defense. David Horst and Eric Bruner likely fighting for one starting spot opposite Jermaine Taylor March 8th when the Dynamo open up against the New England Revolution. Both Horst and Bruner have been neck and neck in practice, each at times operating with the first team unit. Dominic Kinnear may have, reached a decision, but if so, he's not telling anybody, and you wouldn't really be able to glean much from watching this group practice or play, as the two have pretty much evenly split time. So if somebody has a better game tonight, it could be the difference between starting or not starting 1 week's time from tonight.
Yeah, interesting circumstance there. Both guys competing in the back, but having to team up here to fend off the attacking prowess of Dane Kelly of Austin Savage, as Zach Prince lets that roll out into touch.
A lot of these guys that play for Charleston have interesting backstories. We'll bring you them kind of as we go through. I know Prince is a College of Charleston guy, had a stint with the PDL side of the Chicago Fire, so certainly somebody that has at one time caught the eyes of an MLS organization.
Yeah, Prince, very talented guy coming out of College of Charleston, and he's a winger that is going to be asked to play a bit more centrally this year because there was a void that has been left because of the absence of Jose Cuevas in the middle of the attacking third of the pitch. Charleston not quite sure who they're going to fill in there as that number 10 spot, but it is certainly open competition this preseason all the way leading up to March 22nd.
Prince standing over this one. He'll serve it in from about 40 yards. Got plenty of options in the Houston box. Goes to the back stick. Bruner with the challenge. Whipped shot on frame by Austin Savage, the Clemson product. Another local kid, nearby Somerville. Lots of talent in this Battery side that has some type of local tie, whether they were born and raised here or played their college ball here. It's got a real hometown team type of feel.
Yeah, South Carolina, a great soccer state. They've got Wando High School, which is a fantastic program here out of Mount Pleasant, constantly ranked up in the top 10 in the national rankings. So there's plenty of talent coming out of this city, and the Battery all too welcome to use that talent and get this team going in the right direction.
Clark takes the throw in from Cassio, pivots it away, and the Dynamo will look to switch with 3 or 4 efficient touches here. 16th minute, 0-0. Corey Ash tries to pick out Driver behind the Battery defense, but Mueller holds strong and then serves it right back to Houston. We haven't really gone through the Battery starting 11. I don't want to skip over that. Taylor Mueller, your right back. Quentin Griffith out at right midfield. Zach Prince on the near side of midfield as you watch along on our stream here. Amadou Sanyang and Jared Van Schaik, your 2 central midfielders. The aforementioned Dane Kelly up top with Austin Savage. Gone through the back 4 a little bit for the Battery earlier in the broadcast, but I know we've got some fans of Charleston, some USL Pro viewers as well watching. It's not all about the MLS teams here. We've got to give the little guy some credit as well.
There we go. There we go. Oof.
David Horst puts this one darn near in the parking lot in the 17th minute. So Horst and Bruner, 2 players with kind of similar skill sets, both big physical guys, central defenders. Again, Jermaine Taylor was actually listed as a starter for this game when we got the lineup sheets about a half hour before kickoff. And apparently a late scratch for Taylor, as it's Bruner and Horst now in central defense for Houston. Ricardo Clark fights through a challenge, comes away with it, and it'll be Horst with the opportunity to improve on his play out of the back after his last long ball found the stands here at Blackbaud Stadium.
This game's been kind of stuck in the midfield, hasn't it, Sebastian? I mean, there hasn't been really any clear-cut chances throughout the first 18 minutes or so, and obviously both teams, it is the 3rd match in a week, so there's plenty of tired legs out there, and just kind of feeling themselves out, getting into the groove of the game a little bit.
A stark contrast, I'd say, from the first game this evening. 4 goals, lots of back and forth. Seattle, knowing that they had to win to claim the Carolina Challenge Cup, really got aggressive in the last 15 minutes going after that 3rd goal.
And that was great to see, wasn't it? I mean, preseason tournament, obviously.
Here's Ricardo Clark, about 35 yards from goal, 30 yards from goal. Not going to beat Ramos with that effort.
But yeah, you talk about, I mean, they really did want to win that game. Seattle, they were stuck on a draw. If they knew if they drew the match that they would end up conceding the tournament to DC United. So you saw in the final 10 minutes them really turn up, try to take that game and take the crown, but DC was able to hold off with a 10-man squad. Beautiful challenge there from Amadou Sanyang in the middle.
Sanyang winning a one-on-one battle with Will Bruin. Bruin had some space. Here comes Davis with space of his own, surging forward. Barnes tried to get the through ball. The 2 not quite on the same page. Maybe still some preseason issues between Brad Davis and Giles Barnes. Barnes coming off a pretty solid season for the Dynamo a year ago.
We're seeing Davis pinch into the middle just for the first time in this tournament, so maybe a little out of position perhaps, as just trying to get acclimated back into the center of the park.
Got so many good options out wide, does Dominic Kinnear, but you got to have Brad Davis on the field, and with his touch, nice to have him in the middle as he springs this attack through Kofi Sarkodie. Cassio going to go one-on-one with Wilson in the corner, and Wilson will get a touch on it, not enough to prevent the service, but enough to slow it down, and the Battery clear at least to midfield, where Horst swings it to Ash. Ash and Driver going 2-on-1 from about 30 yards out. Ash with some space. He'll find service here. Bruin at the near post, skips across, and Wilson, the safe play, he nods it out of bounds. We're going to have ourselves a corner kick here. Houston in the 20th minute, still tied at 0.
Veteran play there from Johnny Wilson, always expecting, even though it may not have seemed like that ball might have got through to him, just nodded it wide of the frame and concedes a corner, but always ready, Johnny Wilson at left back.
'20th minute here, Dynamo looking to find some success from a set piece, a recipe that's often worked for Houston. Davis, outswinger, Horst jumped for it, couldn't steer it towards goal. It'll stay in on that far side. Davis, another service, can't give him 2 cracks at it. Falls to the top of the box. Cassio with a rip. Pushed away from Charleston. Kelly nearly had a step on Ash, but Ash will get their first driver, plays it all the way back to Tally Hall in the Dynamo. Dodge what could have been a dicey counterattack there from the hosts. Here's Will Bruin. Davis has some space again, looked for that through ball there. Kofi Sarkodie on this near side, hoping for the ball. The right back creeping up into the attack. Barnes on the far side can't find space, so he'll drop it back to Corey Ash. Again, the Dynamo not quite finding the quickest service here. Cassio, Ash standing on it. Cassio with a little space. Again, the Dynamo maintaining good possession in the final third, but can't quite break through this battery defense. Got to give Charleston some credit. They were under it for a couple minutes there and never broke.
Yeah, for a team that's only been together for about 2 weeks now, spacing is all very good. The tactical formation of this Charleston Battery squad is seeming to be almost in midseason form. This is a team that has a large core from last year back.
Here comes Kelly racing 1-on-3. He'll do the wise thing, hold it up, and find Quentin Griffith on the far side. Now back to Kelly. Kelly tries to play it into the middle, can't do so. Ricardo Clark busts it up and finds Will Bruin. Bruin, 8 MLS goals a year ago. Trouble here as Ferguson will finally sweep it away. The Battery not quite looking comfortable.
Yeah, I'm not
with
sure.
That clearance out of the back.
Not sure how much Johnny Wilson knew about that when he just put it right into the heart of the box, but it's something that'll look to avoid here throughout this game.
Clark plays it to the near side. Sarkodie going to go up the wing, but it's cut out by Wilson. Wilson thumps it forward. Again, Kelly left to play in many regards as a lone target striker. Very difficult work that he's going to have to do here tonight without much help. Gets nicked from behind. The pass errant. Andrew Driver picks it off to Giles Barnes. A little bit long for the Englishman, but he toe pokes it ahead to Tony Cassio. Cassio and Ferguson in the near side corner. Cassio drops it back to Sarkodie, who takes a sweeping challenge from Kelly. Kelly doing the dirty work, not usually associated with a fast-paced forward, but he does so well right there.
Yeah, you know, he's no stranger to the donkey work in the back, and he is certainly all too willing to go back there, help out his boys.
Davis to Cassio in the box. Cassio looking for a cross, can't find it. Good defense right there as Sanyang knocks it out for a corner kick.
Third or fourth corner kick for Houston. Last year they were very good in the aerial attack, so something for the the Charleston Battery to be a little worried about conceding so many.
Dynamo had some issues creating chances on set pieces early in 2013, but certainly got better towards the end of the year. And we know with service from Brad Davis, it's always dangerous. In-swinger, falls into the box, cleared away now by the Battery. Again, a very dangerous ball from Brad Davis. Will trickle out to Corey Ash. Ash, your quarterback now. Virginia Beach native. One time Carolina Tar Heel tries to find Will Bruin. Bruin seems to be still a bit hampered from that early knock he took from Ramos. As the forward can't quite hold the ball up there. Ricardo Clark in a one-on-one battle. And boy, this game physical. Early on, Sanyang and Clark collide. Two guys not afraid of a tough challenge. Here comes Falvey going right through Giles Barnes. Barnes didn't like it. Falvey won the ball, and the referee says play on. Sanyang, the pivot to Wilson. And Wilson, with that favored left foot, will hit to the back post. It falls to Kelly. Kelly working on Ash. And Ash wins that battle despite a marked disadvantage in the height category. Van Schaik plays it ahead. Driver steps in. He and Mueller collide. It'll be Battery ball. About 35 yards from goal. 25th minute, 0-0. Charleston and the Houston Dynamo. Final match for the Dynamo before they start their MLS season. 1 week from today at BBVA Compass Stadium in Houston against the New England Revolution. May not be two of the more talked about teams this offseason, but remember, those are two Eastern Conference playoff teams from a year ago. Here comes Giles Barnes streaking down the left side, got Will Bruin in the box. Barnes slips it to Bruin. Bruin left-footed shot knocked away by Ferguson. Here comes Driver. Driver with a moment. Instead he'll go to Cassio, choosing short play over service. Clark tried to pick out Barnes to no avail, and David Horst resets the Houston attack. Again, they choose the left side with Corey Ash and Andrew Driver. Driver, well-timed run. Great ball from Ash. Skips it across. Ramos quickly off his line and smothers it. No opportunity for a rebound there. Could have been trouble. Here's Kofi Sarkodie. Wilson tried to keep the ball in. He could not. Sarkodie wins it now. Into the box. Bruin, left-footed shot on frame, but right at Ramos. And the Dancing Bear will rue that missed opportunity.
Yeah, it was set up perfectly for Will Bruin, wasn't it? It took one touch and had a glimpse at goal, but give a lot of credit to Kofi Sarkodie taking advantage of Johnny Wilson just a bit out of position, and made a nice little move to split a couple of defenders and found Bruin just outside the box.
Kelly again is the target forward. We'll slip it back to Prince. Prince picks out Kelly over the top. He's one-on-one with Hall, but perhaps the slick field got the best of that one. Kelly's fast. Not that fast.
Not that fast, exactly.
Van Schaik on the ball. He'll play through San Yang. Now Ferguson to Wilson on the near side. Wilson, nice clip ball down the wing. This is going to be trouble. Savage trying to run on the wrong side of Horst. Hall out to knock it away. And Talley in that no man's land, forced to just clip it out for a throw-in.
Yeah, that time Hall picks the right decision, comes out, convincingly clears it, as he and David Horst getting the better of the communication on that last sequence.
Here comes Prince. He'll throw it in from the near side. Kelly and Savage, his options right now in the box. Taylor Mueller also creeping up into the attack on the far side of the Battery formation. Savage in the corner, and a rough touch off his midsection. Seemed like he and Prince weren't quite on the same page there. 28th minute, Battery and the Dynamo tied at 0. Blackbaud Stadium, Charleston, South Carolina. The Carolina Challenge Cup, one of the big preseason events in Major League Soccer every year. Sarkodie will go back to Hall. Of course, Dynamo fans will know Talley has had his issues with distribution. He's acknowledged them. Says it was one of the things Jürgen Klinsmann had him work on while in the U.S. camp. Battery come away playing. They can't quite find that pass. You got to make a point here, I think, Dane, important to note that the USL Pro team's very far behind their MLS competition in terms of how long they've been together.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, this time of year, the Major League Soccer teams are really at a major advantage because of the way that rosters are set. In fact, a lot of guys who will end up in USL Pro right now are still in camps fighting for MLS jobs. So, you know, the Battery may not really know what their team's going to look like come that March 22nd with guys still floating around. Certainly, they don't know how the entirety of the league is going to look.
Yeah, you know, you had teams all across USL Pro who just were wrapping up tryouts this very week. So, obviously, a very young part of the USL Pro season. Charleston Battery just about 2 weeks into it. And that was a little moment of amusement there. Giles Barnes thought he was offsides, let it hit him, and no whistle came.
Yeah, it takes a lot to get Dominic Kinnear fired up off the bench in preseason. That's one of them. As the English striker, I think, thought he was out of the play and took it off. Savage here will draw a foul. Well done, as he realized that there was not much cover for central back David Horst. Goes right at the tall defender and draws a foul about 35 yards out.
Yeah, Horst, professional foul right there, knowing that he was caught a bit flat-footed as Savage just took the touch around him, and he knew he would have been in some trouble had he not committed the foul. Smart foul, intelligent foul, one that will frustrate Battery fans, but set up an opportunity for Zach Prince to put in a teasing little ball into the box.
This is Prince's second shot from about the same spot. 30th minute, Prince with the service.
Better ball.
One more of a line drive, skips to the back post off the head of Colin Falvey, and it just misses. beating Tally Hall at the far bar.
Yeah, that's how the goal came against Seattle off a Zach Prince set piece from just about right there. So he has been the one who has really answered the call when it comes to who is going to take the set pieces here in this new campaign.
Falvey heads ahead to his central back counterpart, Eric Bruner. Dynamo, a staple in the deeper edges of the Major League Soccer postseason, back-to-back MLS Cups, and then a conference final appearance last year. Some say the window may be closing for this particular edition of the Dynamo, but talk around the organization, pretty confident that 2014 will see them compete late in the playoffs again. Ash to Driver. Driver and Griffith one-on-one. Driver with plenty of pace and that powerful left foot, but he gets cut off. Savage there to win it and send it down the line. A hopeful ball nearly finds Kelly. Bruner deals well with it. And Ash punches forward. Ash has a left foot. He can rip it as well. Tries to get behind the defense. Runs up the back of Mueller. Gets called for the foul. Falvey there to cover regardless.
First half hour, it's been the Charleston Battery, majority on the ropes a little bit, taking in some of the attack, absorbing it, and then just looking to filter out Dane Kelly or Austin Savage on a little counterattack. I think as this game goes on and Charleston is allowed to express how they play a bit more, they'll want to pressure up a little higher on Houston, perhaps let a little less time on the ball for some of the Dynamo players.
Ash up to win it. Bruner as well. Davis looks to settle, can't do so, and the Battery will actually come away with this one. Sanyang under pressure. First from Ricardo Clark, then Brad Davis. Ball ends up all the way back at the feet of goalkeeper Andy Ramos.
And he's going to hit it one time after the little mistake a few minutes ago.
Doesn't want a repeat of the play that nearly saw Will Bruin crash in on an unguarded goal. John Wilson under pressure from Casio, the 36-year-old, fighting the good fight and wins the throw-in.
Well done from Johnny Wilson, who is going to be the left back for Charleston Battery here throughout this season, but 36 years old, he will need some help. Drew Ruggles got the game-tying goal against DC United in the 93rd minute of the last game. So he'll have some support, he'll have some backup, but Johnny Wilson knows that his place has been solidified in this Charleston starting 11.
Wilson, a teammate of DC United head coach Ben Olsen while they were with the Black and Red. So those two know each other quite well. Saw them exchanging pleasantries earlier this week. Ash with a bit of a loose ball back into Bruner, and this is trouble as Dane Kelly turns on the speed. Kelly has made a play here. He's going to get some help from Griffith on the far side. Kelly trying to find his way into the box. Griffith now on it. Drops it back to Mueller. Mueller running at his defender. That's Eric Bruner. Bruner pushes him onto Driver. Service from Mueller into the box. Hall will go up and get it. And Tally, very demonstrative in his communication after he didn't like that defensive sequence from the Dynamo.
Well, yeah, not too much of a scoring chance, but an opportunity that was created because Dane Kelly pressuring the back four, always bothering those opposing defenders. And you see right there, Dane Kelly just creating one more opportunity, this time with his defensive skills.
35th minute, the pressure from the Battery has inched up a little bit over the last few minutes as they play higher and higher up the field, giving the Dynamo some problems building out of the back. Ferguson challenges Giles Barnes there. He'll win it and play away through Van Schaik. Griffith on the far side, an international for Antigua and Barbuda, huh? He got some international. I think he's got something like 26 caps, 4 goals.
Antigua's Sportsman of the Year last year, too.
Wow, incredible. And a speedster, right? I mean, reading a scouting report on him. Yeah, he's got some burners. So got to keep an eye out on that far side. A good matchup for Corey Ash, of course. There are a few times that Corey's not the fastest guy on his side of the field, as Ash himself a burner as well. So we'll keep an eye on that matchup. Two speedy guys going at each other. A preseason game might open some things up. Prince loses in a one-on-one shoving match with Casio.
generally when you got wingers out there who just love to push up and down, generally you can find one of them out of position throughout the course of the game. And if you've got pace on the opposing end, you can always look to take advantage of maybe someone pushing up a bit too much.
Barnes and Cassio combined to try and keep that play alive and the possession alive. But here comes Charleston. Nice step from Wilson. He'll play it through to Kelly. Eric Bruner, Johnny on the spot there to clear it up. Again, Kelly so dangerous. His speed, you can already tell, drawing the respect of this Dynamo back four.
His speed and his strength. I mean, you look at him body up defenders with his back to goal. He is really so impressive, and his touch all the while is so close to him all the time.
Ferguson there was under some heavy pressure, but cool, calm, and collected on the ball. And now it'll be Colin Falvey serving it forward. Ideas lacking on that possession for the Battery. Tally Hall has it now at his feet. 37th minute, 0-0. The Dynamo lost their first game here in Charleston, a 2-0 defeat to DC United. Goal scored by Mikey Seaton, a young homegrown talent for DC in that game, and an own goal after Nick DeLeon served an early cross that caught the Dynamo defense off guard. On the midweek, they tied. Did Houston. Seattle 1-1. So they're sitting on 1 point, as are the Battery, through 2 games here at the Carolina Challenge Cup. As we mentioned earlier, though, DC through goal differential is your Carolina Challenge Cup winner. Seattle in second place. So this game here, effectively your bronze medal match. Let's call it that for marketing purposes. Barnes challenges, doesn't win it, but does enough to see it pushed on to the Battery back line. David Horst, good challenge there. Again, the ball very much up for grabs in midfield right now as Clark comes away with it. And finally, the Dynamo managed to put their stamp on this game with some possession. It'll be Bruner out of central defense, playing it wide to Corey Ash, but he's picked off. Well read there, and a crunching tackle as Mueller and Bruner both took about a 10-yard sprint right at each other. Here's Driver on his left foot. Again, the service lacking from the one-time English Youth International.
Yeah, Driver, he's looked good up and down the wing, but he really, his service, like you said, have been lacking. He's been active. He's had plenty of the ball.
Kelly one-on-one with Horst. Tried to sneak around the far side. The big physical defender. Kelly could not do so, though. And Hall disappointed with himself. Hands on hips right now after that clearance. Again, finds the touch, and we're going to have ourselves a throw-in for the Battery.
Well, you got to think if you're Tally Hall, specifically the coach of the men's national team has told you work on your distribution in the off season. Every time you hit an errant pass, you know it's going to be trickling through your mind a little bit. You can see it right there, out of bounds, and he's got his hands on his hips.
You know, and Tally has talked about it before. He acknowledges it's something he's got to work on in his game, but he's also said that he doesn't want to think too much about it because then it becomes a bigger issue. And I think, you know, sometimes we harp on a goalkeeper's shortcomings. I think the truth about Tally Hall is he's really good at everything else, and distribution comes into play. To be honest, you know, when it's really a disaster, it comes into play maybe once a year.
Sure.
You know, his dominance in the air, the way he commands a penalty box, his shot-stopping ability, his positioning off the ball are really right there with, I would say, anybody in an American goalkeeping uniform outside of probably Brad Gazan and Tim Howard. I think those guys are your clear 1-2. Nick Raimondo is probably going to be the 3 in Brazil, but Tally Hall's right there. I think we're going to have a sub here as Eric Bruner, who was involved in that crunching challenge with Taylor Mueller on the far side, is coming off limping, being helped by head athletic trainer for the Dynamo, Theron Enns. And A.J. Cochran, I believe, will be your likely substitute here. Number 16 for the Houston Dynamo, a rookie from Wisconsin, taken in the first round with Houston's first overall pick in the recent MLS Super Draft in Philadelphia. I was there that day, got to interview A.J. Right after he had been picked by the Dynamo. He's a huge kid, and as we alluded to during Wednesday's stream, drew some comparisons to Eddie Robinson from the Houston Dynamo training staff. Eddie Robinson, our color guy on CSN Houston for our MLS broadcasts. But it's going to be Cochran checking in right now as Bruner gets some work done on what appears to be his right leg. So that could, in many ways, make the decision unfortunate, but also a bit easier for Dominic Kinnear. If Eric Bruner's out, that jumps Horst into the driver's seat, you would assume, for the second center back spot for the Dynamo opposite Jermaine Taylor.
Yeah, it's a shame to see. I mean, Bruner was playing very well, teaming up with Horst nicely in the back in the heart of the defense. But injury, like you said, may force the hand.
So here come the battery trying to work out of some pretty high pressure from the Dynamo. They can't do so, and it's going to be Giles Barnes wheeling away from the center of the pitch. Finds Andrew Driver out wide. Driver has gotten himself into some dangerous spots, but unable to find the right service into the box. Driver now going one-on-one with Mueller. He's left foot heavy, but can offer service with that right, given time and space. Here's a cross, finds its way to Will Bruin off a deflection. His left-footed volley well high, well wide, and the Dynamo miss a chance.
Not much happening in the attacking third for Houston. Once they get in with relative ease into that attacking third, but then Charleston kind of condenses the defense a bit, and there's not much room to pass or move for these Dynamo attackers.
Yeah, Charleston doing a really nice job getting bodies behind the ball in their final third, and as you said, not many windows for guys like Brad Davis and Driver to try and find those tricky through balls and unlock this Charleston defense. Here comes Corey Ash, slips it to Bruin, who goes one touch to Driver. Bruin nearly picked out Ash, who's making a run down that far side. Here's Bruin, takes one touch too many. Mueller will sweep it away.
Well, you got to think, if you're a Dynamo fan, it comes as no secret that everything sort of revolves around Brad Davis. He is that guy who is the creator in the heart of this 11 for Houston. And once Charleston just drops back a little bit, he's the guy that you want, who's got that vision, who has that skill to just dink one over the top or through a couple defenders and find Bruin or Barnes.
Charleston, after absorbing some pressure, content to clear that one away. The Dynamo establishing a little bit more possession here late in the first half. 43rd minute, still 0-0. We've had one sub already due to injury. Eric Bruner taken off, replaced by rookie A.J. Cochran. Brad Davis turns, finds Andrew Driver. Driver and Mueller, we've seen this matchup before. Can Driver get the better? Here's a service to the near post. Had Davis streaking, but it's knocked away by Amadou Sanyang.
Yeah, that's a cheeky pass from Driver, isn't it? Right into the path of Davis. And it was always going to be difficult for Davis to turn it on goal, but a good bit of vision there from the Englishman.
Here's the service from Davis, near post. Cleared away, I believe it was Sanyang again. And here comes Kelly. Kelly pokes it past Sarkodie. Driver, nice back check there from the Dynamo midfield, or else Kelly could have been gone. Kelly comes away with a hand on that right hip. Not sure if it's anything serious, unlikely.
Well, if there's one thing he can take solace in, there's about a minute and 20 seconds until the halftime whistle. Can't imagine there'll be too much stoppage time, as there have been a couple injuries, I suppose.
Savage tried to hold the ball up there, but lost it to a bevy of Dynamo defenders. Here's Ash. Ash and Driver. Driver under pressure, loses it. Mueller having a nice half at that right back spot for Charleston.
Yeah, that's where he's most comfortable. Played a little bit earlier in this tournament, pairing up with Colin Falvey in the middle of the defense, but really he likes to get up and down those flanks, and that's a good ball through.
Driver on the end of this service from Barnes, cuts it back to that right foot, swings it in, cleared away by Wilson. Not far enough though. Barnes about 25 out, looking to switch it, and he does with Sarkodie. Sarkodie and Prince with some help from Cassio. Kofi looking for answers. Finds some help in the form of Ricardo Clark, who will change the point of this Dynamo attack. Ash from distance crushes it on goal, off the post. Incredible shot from Corey Ash. Nearly puts the Dynamo up 1-0 instead. John Wilson clears it. We'll have a corner kick in the 45th minute.
What was he even thinking shooting from that distance? Unbelievable crack there off the post. Just unfortunate from Clark, but my oh my, lit this stadium up.
Corey Ash with the rip. Brad Davis the service now. In swinging ball, cleared away. Savage nods it on. Kofi Sarkodie back into the box. Bodies everywhere. Wilson with a chance to clear it, but he's under pressure. Here comes Cassio. Wilson will do the best he can. Out for a throw-in. 1 minute of added time here in the first half. The fourth official has just put his sign up. Dynamo pushing for a late goal. This is the presumed 11 of Dominic Kinnear come next week, March 8th. And the season opener against the New England Revolution, minus Jermaine Taylor, the Jamaican international, sitting on the bench right now. As we told you earlier, was in the starting lineup before this game, a late scratch, replaced by David Horst.
Houston inching closer and closer to goal as this half progresses, and I don't think the Battery can hear the whistle come quick enough, as they just play a waiting game right now.
Sorry, earlier I said Jermaine Taylor was replaced by Horst. He was actually replaced by Bruner, who has since been replaced by Cochran after a collision with Taylor. Mueller left him injured and favoring that right leg. All right, we've hit the half here at Blackbaud Stadium. 0-0, Charleston Battery and the Houston Dynamo all square after 45 minutes. We're going to take a quick break here on the stream, but join us in about 10 minutes. We'll be back with the second half between the Dynamo and the Battery, the finale of the Carolina Challenge Cup 2014. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Blackbaud Stadium. Sebastian Salazar and Dane Arlucas here as we bring you the second half of the Charleston Battery and Houston Dynamo Carolina Challenge Cup, the sixth and final game of this year's preseason tournament, featuring 3 Major League Soccer teams and the host Battery, who play in USL Pro, American Soccer's third tier. Looks like we're going to have a few subs for the home side. The Dynamo 11 will remain the same. Remember, Houston central back Eric Bruner came out with a right leg injury late in the first half. He's been replaced by A.J. Cochran, the Dynamo's first-round draft pick in the recent MLS Super Draft. For the Battery, Zach Prince, an outside midfielder from College of Charleston, has been replaced by... No, Prince is out there. Sorry, Jackson Farmer is in the game in central defense, having replaced Sean Ferguson. Ferguson out of the center of defense, and Farmer is your center back inside there with Colin Falvey, the captain for the Battery.
Yeah, Farmer just come in from our affiliation team here at the Charleston Battery, the Vancouver Whitecaps. And first look at him for this Charleston Battery home side, and promising stuff. You take a look at the help we got last year from up north. Bryce Alderson, Ben Fisk, and Emmanuel Ajeti did wonders for the depth of this squad late on in the season, and good to have some of the boys back in town again.
Van Schaik on the ball. He and Sanyang, your 2 starting central midfielders for the Battery. Both out there for Charleston still. Here's John Wilson with a nice overlapping run. Not going to get there in time, though. He's the veteran outside back. Can't quite find it. Also got a change in net for the Battery. Eric Shannon from Cal State Bakersfield in the game. He replaces Andy Ramos, who played the first half. Earned a shutout through the opening 45.
I'll tell you, Sebastian, a lot of credit has to go to the defensive midfielders of the Charleston Battery. I mean, you're going up against Ricardo Clark and Brad Davis, and, you know, they did have their chances. They were pushing up. They had the Lions' portion of possession, but really, Amadou Sanyang and Jared Van Schaik doing a good job of keeping those two quiet in the middle of the park.
Sure, Davis and Clark have had their space, but the through balls that break down the defense have been hard to come by. And as you mentioned, Dane, that's credit that has to go somewhere, and it's going to be the hard work of the Battery midfield that draws most of the attention. Here's Driver looking for some help. Had an overlapping run from Davis, but chose to go back instead. Cochran thumps it forward to Davis. Davis coming back from an offside position. Flag goes up, and the Battery have it.
I know we've talked about it before, but let's face reality. It is the 3rd game in a week. This is the second half of the 3rd and final game. Don't be surprised if you see some tired legs out here. Obviously, substitutions plentiful for each coach, but you see these guys, and they've been playing the majority of the minutes here throughout this week. So something to keep an eye on, maybe some drowsy legs, and maybe a couple mistakes to be made here in the next 45 minutes.
You mentioned the affiliate agreement that Charleston has with Vancouver. Very interesting move that the league is making, encouraging its teams to find affiliations, or in the case of the LA Galaxy, just create a second team.
There you go.
LA Galaxy 2, which I think is going to put them a bit ahead of the curve when it comes to player development. People think player development, they think 12, 14-year-olds. It's also, you know, the 18 to 20-year-olds that need to get run but can't do so because it's tough to break into an MLS 11. This is trouble here.
Speedsters letting loose.
Kelly tries to slip it back through to Quentin Griffith. The Dynamo defense holds. Davis tries to go over the top to Giles Barnes. Sanyang cuts it out and goes back to Wilson. Wilson slips as he tried to clear that. Prince checking back. Maintains possession for Charleston. Wilson steady as ever, plays out of the back. Sanyang looking for Kelly. To a sliding challenge from David Horse. If not, Kelly could have been in. Here's Barnes, 30 out. He can hit it from here. Barnes slips it to Cassio. Cassio on the edge of the box, working one-on-one with Wilson. Tries to go around the veteran defender. Wilson stands his ground. Ball crossed back. It's out, and it'll be a goal kick for the Battery. Good one-on-one win there from John Wilson.
Yeah, it was a troublesome first touch, wasn't it, from the Vancouver Whitebacks. Loney, first touch in the black and yellow, and he almost gave a brilliant scoring chance right to Houston, and got to be a little wary of that. Maybe some nerves just creeping in as he is being introduced into this team and to these home fans' base.
Andrew Driver down on the field. He'll get a helping hand up from Theron Enns, the athletic trainer for the Houston Dynamo. Driver comes off, and it looks like Alex Lopez, a young man who came over for a transfer fee just north of $1 million last year from Olympia in Honduras, now ready to check into the center of the park where he will replace Driver. Brad Davis moves outside to his more familiar wing position, though he's going to be on the right side of the Dynamo midfield. Sorry, left side. Going right to left.
Yeah, Lopez only got 2 games last year. Wasn't heavily involved in the roster here at the Dynamo, but obviously with Brad Davis shifting out to the middle, and it was Horst, I believe, getting injured.
Driver,
excuse
off.
me,
Driver came off.
So it's a chance for young Alexander Lopez to show what he's got here in preseason.
Lopez, a big question mark for the Dynamo. Whenever you get brought over for that type of transfer fee, there's going to be assumptions about playing time. That's not how Dominic Kinnear runs his locker room. You know, every minute has to be earned, and so far it's been very difficult for Lopez to earn minutes. But coming in midway through the season did not help his cause. Adjusting to the heat and humidity in Houston in the middle of a 34-game campaign is not an easy thing to do. Lopez, frankly, struggled with it, and given now a full year to be in shape, to be ready, the expectations in 2014 are very high for him. This is a big year for the young Honduran. Set piece coming here again, going to be Prince on the service. Prince offered up a couple of dangerous set pieces in the first half. Here he is again, line drive. Not going to clear to the first line of the Houston defense. Ricardo Clark there to knock it away, but here comes Griffith. Crashes into Corey Ash. Ash wins it easily and gives it to Lopez. Lopez down the wing to Davis. Davis working against Farmer. Farmer with a glowing blonde head of hair.
Battery fans will remember that do from last year, courtesy of Bryce Alderson, another Vancouver Whitecaps transplant. So not the same sort of game. Center back for Farmer. Alderson was more of an attacking midfielder, but same sort of look, that's for sure.
We talked about the affiliate agreements a little bit before, but the Dynamo also inking one with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, a team you guys know well down here in Charleston. At least 4 players will be loaned from Houston to the Riverhounds for the season, and at the end of this 2014 campaign, the MLS Reserve League will no longer be around. Here's Giles Barnes into the box, one-on-one with Falvey. Slips it to Davis. Davis on that left foot, stutters a little bit. Missed clear from Falvey. Lopez on his right foot. Lopez, another one of these guys that has a cannon. We've seen it in practice many a time, but he can't find space to shoot. Kelly with a back heel, not going to work. Corey Ash has Barnes. Can he play him through? Chooses not to. Now running into the path of the English forward, and Corey has to cycle it back. Lopez to Clark. Clark atop the box. Finds Cassio. Cassio on that right foot. Goal! Dynamo! Tony Cassio with the finish. And the Dynamo take a 1-0 lead here in the 53rd minute.
And give all the credit to that goal to Ricardo Clark right there, waiting very patiently at the top of the box. Just found Cassio in acres of space in the box, and Cassio just had to tuck it home past Andy Ramos, which he has shown over and over again that he is more than capable of doing. And a little more troublesome for the Battery here on this near side touchline. Dane Kelly limping towards the Battery bench under Battery trainer Bobby Weisenberger, and troubling stuff there as Evio Cordovez is going to come into the game for the Battery. not sure where exactly he might have been touched up. I missed it. It was off the ball, it seemed like.
Yeah, well, it was his turnover that originally started that possession for the Dynamo. It looks like he's favoring that left leg. He had tried a back heel to spring the attack, and then the Dynamo got it. Corey Ash, give him some credit for the steal, eventually getting it down into the Dynamo end. But again, Ricardo Clark had an opportunity to shoot, chose not to, drew the Charleston defense in, and then finds Tony Cassio, who continues his rich run of form in this preseason. Pretty much every time Cassio's on the field, he's somehow getting on the score sheet. And I don't know that when Dominic Kinnear and the Dynamo brought him in, they thought that he would make a case this quickly for first-team playing time. He's doing it, and I would not be surprised if we come to March 8th, and there we see Tony Cassio in Houston starting 11. Well, the field is wet. There's no other way to put it than that. Kofi Sarkodie lost his footing. He's not the first guy that we've seen that happen to so far here tonight. 1-0 in the 55th minute. Goal just a few minutes ago from Tony Cassio has the Dynamo ahead 1-0, and right now in third place in the Carolina Challenge Cup standings. Excuse me.
Yeah, down 1 goal. The Battery really have not been able to muster up anything offensively, and just be trailing now might actually force it out of them to start attacking, start forcing the issue a bit on the goal of Tally Hall.
Quentin Griffith with the attempted switch there, but it's cut out well by Kofi Sarkodie. Here comes Giles Barnes, shoves Griffith aside, surges forward on his own, slips it to Cassio. Cassio into the box, has an opportunity to cross, going to drop it to Davis. Davis with time and space, chips it artfully to the penalty spot. Now to the back stick. Here's Sarkodie. Can he get there first? No. Prince with a heads-up play bangs it off Sarkodie's knee and out for a goal kick. As you mentioned, Kelly came out. Eviel Cordovez now on as a forward for the Charleston Battery. Cordovez, a 6'2", 24-year-old. Another in a long line of Cuban players that have found their way here to Charleston, of course, starting with Osvaldo Alonso, now one of the best players in Major League Soccer, member of the Seattle Sounders, and he really opened the floodgates for that Cuban import-export business here in Charleston. Great players come here, and more often than not, they find their way up the American soccer ladder. Yeah,
Eviel Cordovez just trying to follow in the footsteps of Ozzy Alonso, and this kid's got plenty of potential. He's a youngster out of Cuba who, once he has a chance to unleash that left foot, it is something to be reckoned with, that is for sure. He was in Wichita playing in the indoor league, had 9 goals with his Cuban teammate and buddy Michael Chang, who was on the Battery as well. We might get to see him a little later on in this second half. But yeah, plenty of talent coming out of Cuba, and the Charleston Battery not shy to bring him on in.
Cordovez, a member of Cuba's failed attempt to qualify for the 2010 World Cup. Plenty of great stories here in the lower echelons of professional American soccer. This Battery roster, interesting mix. Guys who have been around the domestic game for a long time, and some that are very new to it.
You want to talk about recent success stories? Dom Dwyer from Real Salt Lake. He has just been absolutely, I believe it's Kansas City. He has been absolutely brilliant since making that promotion, and obviously in USL Pro was just a monster.
I believe he led USL Pro with 15 goals. Dane Kelly had 11 a year ago, which puts him top 5. So
well, he had 15 goals, but he left midway through the season.
Right. I don't know if that is included in his championship performance in the 7-4 win over Charlotte.
What a game that was. Goodness.
Incredible. So 58th minute here, 1-0. Dynamo on top. Tony Cassio goal off an assist from Ricardo Clark. Nice little build-up after the Dynamo had forced a turnover in the Battery's end.
Remember, Sebastian, the last 2 Battery games against Seattle and D.C., they all ended basically at the last heartbeat. I mean, it was 93rd minute in the last game, and it was a goal that they gave up, conceded through a penalty kick to Seattle Sounders, which eventually lost them that game in the 89th minute, I believe. So adopting somewhat of the label of the cardiac kids here in this preseason tournament.
Mueller shoves off Giles Barnes tries to play it out with Griffith. Griffith collides into Corey Ash. Corey's going to draw the foul. Corey never one to back down. You see some beginnings of jawing there. Corey, one of my favorite players to cover. Always a good soundbite. Great interview. Very honest. But he likes to get after it in these games. He's not always an innocent party. I'll leave it at that. 59th minute. Very dangerous set piece here for Brad Davis. That left foot will put it into the back stick. Headed on frame. No, just wide. And that was David Horst in there fighting off the battery defenders and trying to turn a set piece into a second and potentially game-sealing goal here at Blackbaud Stadium.
Yeah, Eric Shannon was sort of caught in no man's land on that last ball sent in by Brad Davis. Wanted to come out, checked his run, and was just sort of caught wandering in the box. And lucky for the Charleston Battery fans that wasn't on target, because it would have presented major problems for the black and yellow.
Davis second to it. Nice play by Jared Van Schaik to knock it out. We're going to have some subs coming on here for the Battery in a minute. Looks like two players set to check in. Justin Portillo and Marlon Ramirez. We'll see who they come in for in just a moment as the home side looks to make a couple of changes and perhaps see if they can't get back into this one. Barnes looking for his strike partner, Bruin. They can't hook up. Now it's Cordovez working with his back to goal. Takes a strong shove from A.J. Cochran.
Oof.
Ill-advised pass here from Ash, intercepted by the speedster Griffith, who finds Cordovez. Cuban now inching forward, right-footed cross into the heart of the Dynamo area. Cleared back out, and we're going to have a throw-in for the Battery deep in the Houston end.
And I'll tell you, that's a surprising sight to see Aviel not go straight to his left foot, try to cut inside, use that right foot, swinging actually what was a beautiful ball into the heart of the box, and nobody there offering support for Aviel Cordovez, but nice to see him using that opposite foot and putting a great ball in.
So we're going to have a couple of subs here for the Charleston Battery. Coming off at right back, Taylor Mueller, and he's replaced by Marlon Ramirez. Ramirez will be wearing the number 21 jersey at right back. Also coming on, Justin Portillo. He replaces Austin Savage. Portillo wearing the 20 jersey, a graduate of Coastal Carolina, and was actually invited to the 2014 MLS Combine, so certainly one of the top players in the recent collegiate class.
Yeah, he's a fantastic player. I actually had a chance to cover a few of his games at the College of Charleston when I was calling some of their games, and great player, sets up in the middle of the park, keeps possession very well when he's asked to, and he creates, and when he's asked to defend, he gets back and does his donkey work.
I was talking to Charleston President Andrew Bell a little bit earlier. He said probably going to be 6 or 7 Vancouver guys that come in. I always find that interesting how these USL Pro teams will deal with all that turnover. But here come the Dynamo. Will Bruin on the far side. Great ball to Giles Barnes, and a simple finish from the Englishman. The Dynamo up 2-0 in the 63rd minute.
And that was Will Bruin just absolutely toasting this back line of the Charleston Battery. Got around Johnny Wilson, got to the byline, and put in a laser right on the forehead of Giles Barnes. And I don't think Barnes is going to score an easier goal. That was set up beautifully by the number 12 in orange.
Dynamo up 2-0 here as their attack finally comes to life in the second half of their third game. Going to have another substitution here for the home side. Coming on for Charleston, the diminutive Dante Marini. This young man, 5'3", but I've heard from a couple different people that follow this Battery team that he's a lot of fun to watch. A difference maker for sure. He replaces Zach Prince.
And I'll tell you, disappointing for Battery fans who are still in the stands right now to see their team go down 2-0, but just as exciting, I suppose, is Dante Marini coming into this game. He really can provide I've called him a spark plug because he really is explosive over there, and a ton of fun to watch on that left-hand side as he scampers those little legs up and down the wing.
Product of Northeastern University.
Oof.
Blistering shot there from Giles Barnes. The volley well over the top of Eric Shannon's goal. Still 2-0. Marini, as I said, played at Northeastern, led them in goals and assists his senior year. And again, at 5'3", he's going to stand out to you on this stream. But I got a couple of friends that are Battery fans, one that's a season ticket holder, and they're pretty excited about that young player. Certainly reading up on his CV is fairly impressive. Coming down the right side, this is Marlon Ramirez, just checked into the game. He slips and falls on one of his first touches, trying to beat veteran defender Corey Ash. Ash then returns the favor as he falls and slips out of bounds. Portillo on the ball, trying to find Cordovez.
Ramirez, another one of those products from up north, Vancouver, and another chance for Battery fans to take a first glance at some of the help we're getting from the MLS squad.
Lopez high loping ball as he tried to pick out Barnes. Got a little too much under that one as Portillo comes away with it. Griffith and Portillo here on the near side. Looked like Griffith wanted to switch there, couldn't quite find it. And Brad Davis now with time and space. That's dangerous. Will Bruin, creeping run. He's going to get in. No offside flag. Bruin with space. Enters the box. Slips it across. Barnes atop the box. Hammers it. Takes a deflection. Going to be a corner kick as the Englishman was looking for his second of the night.
Since the goal, it seems like Giles Barnes has just seen the mouth of goal open up a bit. Took a shot from long range off a half volley. That one didn't have much space to work with, but brimming with confidence right now is the young Englishman, Giles Barnes.
Barnes, as we said, led this team in goals in MLS regular season play a year ago with 9. Davis to the near post. Barnes flicks it on. I thought it took a deflection, but they're going to say goal kick Charleston here. So your goal scoring, Tony Casio in the 53rd minute. The assist goes to Ricardo Clark. And in the 62nd minute, Giles Barnes with the goal. Will Bruin, the Indiana University product, with the assist. As we mentioned Wednesday night, plenty of St. Louis flavor in this Dynamo team. Will Bruin, Brad Davis, assistant coach Steve Ralston, all from the St. Louis area, as is A.J. Cochran, first-round draft pick. Long ball in from Davis. Had Barnes, but anytime you hang it up like that, you give the goalkeeper his biggest advantage, and Shannon comes out to deal with it successfully. Good distribution from the Battery goalkeeper.
Looks like
Griffith over the top. Cordovez running onto it. Hall out to deal with it.
Oof.
His left-footed clearance not ideal. Right back into the middle. The Dynamo are going to come away with it. Lopez now with some space. Can Houston hit Charleston on the counter? Looks so until Farmer cuts out the pass from Lopez. Barnes into the box. Looking for Bruin. Can he return the favor? Bruin on the back stick. Can't quite get there in time. Does manage to keep it in. Shannon off his line. And the Battery dodge a bullet.
Yeah, since the substitutions have come in, this Charleston Battery squad looks a little frazzled, a little shaky, and just trying to hold on right now as Giles and the rest of his compatriots have really put the Battery under the cosh.
Let's see if Wilson can be the guy to bring Charleston forward as he pushes on from that left back spot. Tried to go 1-2 there with Marini, but the young midfielder lost out to Tony Casio there. Still Charleston ball. Wilson hanging up high. Portillo picks it off. And under serious pressure, as is Marini. And the Dynamo win it. Davis tried to find Will Bruin. Had to hold off at the last second. Davis will get a second crack at it. Here's Ash on the overlapping run. Into the corner. Ash going to be first to it. Cuts it back. Him and Griffith with a little hand-to-hand combat. Griffith comes away with it. Driving across the Dynamo midfield is Griffith. He'll find Sanyang now. Portillo turns and goes. Cordovez one-on-one with Davis. Davis pushes the Cuban back towards the middle of the field. Portillo inside looking for Van Schaik. Had a much quieter second half has Van Schaik in these last 45. Barnes offside, going to be whistled. Davis got there just a second too late to keep the Englishman on.
Yeah, right now Van Schaik is in more of an attacking role than he was in the first half. not really his customary position. He can push up, move forward, but he much prefers to be in the heart of the defense, really helping out Amadou Sanyang and the rest of his back four. But like I said, he is a very talented guy. I call him the Razor because he's so sharp. He can do just about anything on the pitch that's asked of him. And Coach Anhauser using his versatility to push up in the attack a bit more.
Ash and Ramirez collide. Ball goes out of bounds in favor of the Battery, who will restart their attack through Colin Falvey. Falvey now entering his 5th year here with the Battery, a fan favorite, a guy that always seems to make the big play for this club. Definitely a destroyer at the back, but every once in a while he'll stumble upon a goal, and when he does, they're usually pretty important.
You've got that right. It comes in big games against big teams. He had the opening goal against Seattle, and then even looking back to last year, he had the game winner against San Jose when the Earthquakes came here during the U.S. Open Cup to close out Wondolowski and the rest of the Earthquakes.
It's your supporter shield winning team that came here and lost.
Yep.
I'm sure when teams get their Open Cup draws, they see the Battery, they're not too happy about it. Here's a ball from Davis right in between Barnes and Bruin. Neither could collect. Cordovez pumping forward now. Running at Cochran, 16 versus 16. Cordovez stripped momentarily by Clark. Portillo challenged from behind by Davis. Well-timed, crunching tackle from Ricardo Clark. Pushes the ball towards midfield, but the Battery still own it. Looking for a first goal to cut into this 2-strike lead for the Dynamo. Clark into Bruin, who has time to turn. He does so and finds Giles Barnes. Barnes working on Falvey, tried to push it past the veteran defender. Couldn't do so as Falvey has Barnes' number, at least for now, and we get set for another sub from the home side. So Amadou Sanyang, Gambian Youth International, has played for both TFC and Seattle, will come off. Michael Chang, a Cuban player, defected during a trip to Canada in October of 2012. The 22-year-old now set to come on in midfield. Injured most of last year, so this is a guy I'm sure Battery fans are excited to see.
Yeah, really, Battery fans, even a lot of the staff hasn't been able to see a tremendous amount from Michael Chang. Had a nice offseason, played with Evil Cordovez in Wichita in the indoor league, and actually from his midfield role was quite the prolific goal scorer in the indoor league. So something to keep an eye on and watch the chemistry continue to grow as he fits better and better into this team.
Sarkodie and Cassio with a give and go. Sarkodie in the corner. Kofi looking for some help. Not going to find it as Dante Marini doubles down and clears it out. Cordovez one-on-one. Going to have to get there first. Horst with a stiff challenge. Knocks it out of bounds. Battery had a chance for a quick break there, but the Dynamo defense well positioned.
Yeah, Horst took a chance right there, diving in on Evil Cordovez. Just one touch around him, and the young Cuban's in some space, but very convincing stuff there from David Horst.
Space out here, long service, not going to trouble. Yes, it is going to trouble Tally Hall. Wow. I believe that was Van Schaik.
And that was an attempted cross for Ramirez down here on this near side, but he'll tell you it was a shot all the way.
That's right. If it goes in, it was definitely a shot.
Absolutely.
Going to be Portillo to attempt the corner kick here from the near side, and you hear the Battery faithful here at Blackbaud Stadium really start to get ramped up in this one as we head toward the final quarter hour of the Carolina Challenge Cup. Portillo to serve. Drops in at the penalty spot. Header down on frame. Cordovez knocks it towards goal, rolls out of bounds, and we're going to have a goal kick Dynamo. As Charleston prepares what looks to be a few more subs.
How about the Dynamo keeping a large part of their starting 11 in for a good bit of this game as we dip into the 74th minute?
Yeah, this is a dress rehearsal, what appears to be a very real dress rehearsal for Dominic Kinnear and company, as you mentioned. No subs of note here in the second half.
Just the ones due to injury.
Yeah. So we're going to have two subs. Miguel Teos, born in El Salvador, a Greenville, South Carolina resident. He'll check in just a moment, as will Drew Ruggles, who anybody still listening from the Washington, D.C. area will know Ruggles, a Manassas, Virginia guy, played at Georgia Southern. And as you mentioned, he scored the late goal against D.C. United that earned the Battery their lone points so far in this competition.
Yeah, you know, for a guy who's on trial, or, you know, trying out for this team, still trying to squeak his way into the roster, I mean, that's a big goal late in the game off of a set piece against D.C. United to equalize. That'll certainly go down in the memory book of Coach Anhauser.
So Ruggles replaces John Wilson. Wilson, of course, the former D.C. United player, played with the Black and Red for about 2 years, midway through 2005 till about midway through 2007. And he's replaced by Ruggles. And Miguel Teos replaces Jared Van Schaik, who had a pretty productive 75 minutes in the middle of the park for the Charleston Battery. Still 2-0 as we hit the last 15 minutes here. Clark flicks it forward to Barnes, does a good job to use his body at least at first before Ruggles gets to it and plays it back to Shannon. Shannon, a half-hearted clearance attempt, but it makes its way to Chang in midfield. Chang, one of the guys that provides the Cuban flavor to this Battery squad. He and Cordovez, both Cuban. Quentin Griffith now, working against Davis. Sheds the American international, and it's a switch to Ruggles. Here's Marini, all 5'3" of them.
Gets that combination up there, Teos and Marini.
Yeah, they're not going to win a lot of headers, but they can certainly create some problems. Teos probably, what, 5'6", 5'7"?
He's hovering just around 5'6".
Yeah, in his cleats. Here's Cordovez, racing past the Dynamo defense, but the flag up. As the lanky Cuban found some space there.
And that was just created off a turnover, a silly turnover in the midfield by the Houston Dynamo. Allowed Heavio to sneak behind the defenders, but just a bit too far behind.
Marini on his left foot plays it across the box. Very dangerous ball, cleared away by Corey Ash, who lucks in to a fast break here with Tony Cassio. Cassio running towards the middle of the park. Will find Lopez. Nice one-touch ball to Davis. Davis and Griffith, two number 11s doing battle. Clark to the corner now. It's Ash. Ash and Cassio. Cassio is floated all the way to the near side of the field. Had been playing in that right midfield spot, but given some freedom to roam here. Cochran and Clark and Horst all content to play 3-on-2 against the advancing Battery forward line. Davis, great one-touch ball. Great idea. I don't think hit it quite as he would have wanted. Goes out of bounds. But he did have Ash slipping up that sideline. We've seen Corey bomb forward a lot. And with the two outside backs for the Dynamo, you kind of expect that. We haven't seen it from Kofi Sarkodie on the other side, but Ash really getting into the Dynamo attack.
Yeah, Ash, he's built like a bulldog, isn't he? I mean, he just, you look
plays
at
like
him
it too, yep.
Exactly. He almost reminds you of a Gattuso sort. But yeah, just he's so feisty. Gets also willing to push up that near side wing. And
Chang, left-footed ball, tried to split the difference between Cochran and Ash, couldn't do so. The Dynamo have it. Players slipping all over the field at this point. Giles Barnes, the latest victim. He was Davis's target, but was on the ground when the ball got there.
A little frustrated by Giles Barnes, but I don't think he'll be quite as frustrated with a goal to his name.
Nope. It's funny what'll put a forward in a good mood. They could play lousy for 90 minutes. Not that he has, but a guy can play lousy for 90 minutes. If you score, you've done your job.
There you go.
At least in the eyes of your coach, your fans, and probably your family too. It's interesting. It's I talk about it quite a bit with Will Bruin, how when you score, you get too much of the credit. When you don't get enough. Here's Hall quickly off his line. And he'll beat Marini to it. Reading some of the scouting reports on Marini from coaches that had coached against him in college, and the kind of cliche line in there was, don't judge a book by its cover. Don't see a kid that's 5'3" and just assume he can't play. He really can.
Look at that. Teos getting back and roughing up Clark.
Griffith now with it, trying to take advantage as he finds Ramirez in the corner. Ramirez and Corey Ash, Griffith now with the service, diving clearance from A.J. Cochran. Portillo on his left foot, rips it to the near post. It almost beat Tally Hall. Hall at 6'4", stretched out, and just missed there, did the battery.
One of the few instances I can really recall in this game where the battery has had a look to put a shot on goal, obviously right there, Portillo just missing the frame, but it's been so few and far between in terms of chances for the battery, and give a lot of credit to the defending of the Houston Dynamo.
Dynamo with a sub of their own. Giles Barnes comes off. He'll be replaced by Omar Cummings, so a chance to look at the strike pair of Omar Cummings and Will Bruin. Cummings the speedster, no doubt about his role in this pairing. See if he and the Dancing Bear can get on the same page, create something here. Alex Lopez with something Dominic Canero want to see. Tough work in midfield, comes away with it. Cummings tries to slip it through to Barnes, nearly had him, but Marini dances away with it. Now Cordovez tried to get on the opposite end of a long ball from his countryman, Michael Chang. They could not do it. Dynamo defense far too tight. Here's Cochran, plays it back to Tally Hall. Hall looking for some help. Might have another sub coming here as I see some action on the Dynamo bench. Jason Johnson, Brian Ownby, and the recently signed Mark Sherrod all up. Griffith dicing into the middle. Chang now on his left foot. Hits it to the back stick. Sarkodie will chest it down, and no problem for Tally Hall as the pressure dies down from Charleston.
Chang just still trying to work himself into the middle of this Charleston battery squad. It's been one of those positions that it's really just kind of tough to fill in and kind of go along in stride. But Michael Chang, certainly a very quality player. And you see another slip right there from Ramirez. This is becoming quite an issue here in this sixth game of the Carolina Challenge Cup.
Davis turns into some space here, which is always dangerous. He'll slip it wide to Ash. Davis wants the ball back. He gets it. Passes to Will Bruin. St. Louis to St. Louis there. Ricardo Clark pumps it out to Kofi Sarkodie. Sarkodie and Cassio have combined to create quite a strong presence down that far side for the Dynamo here in the second half. Cassio scoring the goal that has Houston up 2-0. Another slip here at the back. A.J. Cochran the victim now, but David Horst there to clean it up and knock it back to Tally Hall. Cochran into the middle. Now gets it back. Patience. Good to see that from the rookie there. Very happy to build out of the back as he finds Alex Lopez. A dummy from Omar Cummings opens some things up. Marini and Horst, that's a mismatch. 6'3" on about 5'3". Neither one really won it. And the ball goes out of bounds. Houston's possession.
Charleston really hasn't been able to express themselves offensively here in this game. It's been a game that they've played the majority on the back foot, especially in the second half, couple goals down. Even with the deficit, they really haven't been able to put any sort of pressure on the back line of Houston. And Cordovez will give it a shot, but he's working kind of on a one-man island up there, as doesn't have too much in terms of support. And when he does, the Houston defense is stout, to say the least.
So we've got 3 players set to check in for the Dynamo, as I mentioned. Brian Ownby, Jason Johnson, Mark Sherrod. I could take some guesses on who they might come for, but we'll wait until they actually enter the match to do that. 83rd minute here. Dynamo up 2-0 at Blackbaud Stadium. This is the Carolina Challenge Cup, the 6th and final match of this preseason tournament. Dynamo joined by DC United and the Seattle Sounders of Major League Soccer, and of course the home side, the hosts, your Charleston Battery. Turnover here, has the Battery in a bad way. Will Bruin dancing forward to Kofi Sarkodie on his right foot. Can Sarkodie finishes, drops it back to Cummings. Cummings over the top of the net. As the Dynamo saw a great attack there, end up in what'll be a corner kick, last touched by the Battery.
That's a mistake by Portillo, just getting a bit too cute in the back. Made one nice move around a Houston Dynamo player, but then got himself into a little trouble, perhaps choosing the wrong time and the wrong place to be adding a little bit of flair to the game.
So we're going to have 3 players make it off the field right now for the Dynamo. Brad Davis.
Great game, good shift by Davis. Played fantastically well and obviously making his best case for that national team.
Tony Cassio, Will Bruin also out of the game. And in comes Mark Sherrod, who just signed on Wednesday, I believe, with the team officially. It was announced. Jason Johnson out of VCU, first-round pick a year ago. A guy with already a Jamaican international cap to his credit. Lopez with the corner kick. Cleared away one time, left-footed by Drew Ruggell. Brian Ownby also on. Ownby playing kind of that right flank spot that Cassio had been holding down. Sherrod crashing in on Falvey. And the battery defender holds his line. Goal kick Charleston. Sherrod, by all accounts, has had a great preseason. Very effective, a beast in the air. Works his tail off, something that will certainly go a long way with the Dynamo coaching staff. Cordovez in midfield to Chang. And now Portillo out to Griffith. The Caribbean contingent of this battery squad. Seeing some action here. Portillo on the ball. Clever little playmaker. Tries to get behind the Dynamo defense as Marlon Ramirez was on the run. But Houston does a nice job both winning it and now playing out of their own back end. Jason Johnson with a nice move on the near side. He'll drive it to Cummings. Cummings touches it back. But Omar offsides in the 86th minute. Mike Chabala is going to check in. Interestingly enough, he'll looks like be checking into the center of midfield, replacing Ricardo Clark. Only about 5 minutes ago, Chabala, not a guy we usually see in the center of the park. Mostly a left back option for Dominic Kinnear and the Dynamo. Played some huge minutes in the Eastern Conference Final, the first leg against Sporting Kansas City. Played well against Graham Zusi, limited the dynamic playmaker's impact in that game. Here's Chang, slips it back to Marini. Marini dancing on the ball. Little chip over the top, brilliant pass from Marini, wow! And just missed out on a first strike there, did the battery. Cordovez could not quite get on the end of it, but a creative play from Marini. You see how dangerous he can be.
How about that for just a speck of the skill that this kid possesses? I mean, just wonderfully ingenuitive, so creative in the middle of the park, and really has no fear whatsoever.
Teo stripped. And the Dynamo have it now. Jason Johnson with the switch, nearly overhit Ownby. Ownby, another young man who played some time away from the Dynamo last year, but then came in with some big minutes. I'm thinking specifically of a game in Philadelphia late in the year in September where he came on and gave the Dynamo some big minutes late in a 1-0 road win, a result that really kind of turned Houston's season around and allowed them to finish strong and make the playoffs in a very crowded Eastern Conference. Only going to be more crowded this year with DC United improving. They won this Carolina Challenge Cup. Toronto FC, hundreds of $1 million of investment. Here's Cummings, great through ball from Ash, but an even better challenge from Quentin Griffith as the battery deny the Dynamo a hope for a third goal, at least momentarily. Anthony Arena into the middle of the park. He's now teaming with A.J. Cochran in central defense. Arena, another one of these guys who did not play much last year, but when called upon was very effective. Game against Columbus. Eric Bruner went out with a head injury. Arena came on and unexpectedly played about 75 very important minutes and acquitted himself well. Portillo now picks up a loose ball and will hit it to Ruggles. Ruggles, the late game hero on Wednesday, as he got the equalizer in the 90th minute against DC United.
And it doesn't look like the battery is going to have a chance to make any sort of dramatic comebacks here in the last couple of minutes. It takes something rather miraculous, but
And Dynamo well in charge of this one, content to play it around. Again, a point that we made in the first half. Important to keep in mind the difference in cohesion between these two levels. The USL Pro guys are really just starting to play together. This is really their first exposure to one another this season, whereas guys for the Dynamo have been together pretty much since the end of January, middle of January. So a lot more chemistry, and you notice that certainly in the final third between these two teams.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the quality in the finishing touches has not been there. The build-up play for Charleston still has some work to do. As you can see, Houston has done a good job in the preseason of preparing themselves for this upcoming 2014 campaign. It's a lot of work, a lot of time to touch things up for Coach Anhauser and the rest of this battery staff, but he can be pleased with what he's seen over the course of this last week. 3 games, and they've all been very competitive, very close games, tight games that some of the fans can go back home and be happy about the hometown boys about.
Falvey will head it forward. Chabala wins it and holds on. Looking for some help, finds it in the form of Jason Johnson. Johnson's pass errant, intercepted by Teos. Teos tries to find Quentin Griffith. He's pressured from behind. Mark Sherrod. Sherrod, who, for Dynamo fans, wearing that number 15, looks like a carbon copy of Cam Weaver. Big, physical, unafraid of the challenge. And that's going to do it. 90 minutes in the book here at Blackbaud Stadium, and the Houston Dynamo emerged victorious in this, the final game of the 2014 Carolina Challenge Cup. The final score, Houston 2, Charleston Battery nothing. Your goals in the 53rd minute from Tony Cassio on an assist from Ricardo Clark, and in the 62nd minute from Giles Barnes on an assist from Will Bruin. For Danar Lucas, I'm Sebastian Salazar. Thanks so much for joining us from here at Blackbaud Stadium. And if 2014 was not your year to get to Charleston, I say put 2015 on your calendar right now. It's a great tournament, something you're seeing right now if you're still on the stream with us. Fans getting right down to the field. They get autographs. It's an access to Major League Soccer that you just don't get very many other places. So if you're a big fan of this league, I cannot tell you enough what a great city this is, what a great host organization the Battery have been, and what a cool event this is for all fans of the beautiful game.